I'll request we remain upstanding for the East Africa. You take it. Yeah.
Okay.
Ulinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you, thank you. Please, let's take our seats. Okay. So I want again to take this opportunity to welcome all of us to today's session. I know there are some of us who are joining us for the first time. They didn't get an opportunity to be with us yesterday. And just for the sake of those who are joining us for the first time, I want to report here that we had a very, very interactive sessions yesterday. And just to get an highlight in terms of what we discussed yesterday, I would request, because we are talking about digital health, and we were told yesterday that actually, are we all digitally fit in the room? Do you see yourself as digitally fit? Are you digitally fit? By a show of hands, how many are doubting themselves? Because today it's going to be more digital. Are we digitally fit? Okay. So I want us to just take a few minutes and try to just in terms of a recap of what we discussed yesterday. I want you to go to menti.com. I know we are all digitally fit. Menti.com. On your browser, take out your phone. The Wi-Fi is free, paid for by Kelly. We appreciate them for that. Go to menti.com on your browser. It would request you to put a code. So the code is 510726. And then you answer this question. What were your two key takeaways from yesterday's sessions? So we started with key remarks from Timothy. Then we had Dr. Wasuna from the Farm Access, who also gave us key remarks. Then we had a presentation from Dr. Joseph Sietene. The panel discussion, which was moderated by Daktari himself, alongside other panelists. Then we had another session, which was a presentation from Wakili Joseph Wycliffe Jakech, sorry, from the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. And we were told about the two Bibles, yeah? So after the Bible, the Constitution, they come third and fourth. We know there is the Bible, the Constitution, then the third and fourth. So the Digital Health Act and the Data Protection Act of 2019. And then we had also another presentation from one of the practitioners in the field, Pascal Muele from Palladium. So what were your key takeaways? Yeah, there's another discussion which was led by Sylvia from Kenya, Kenya Health Informatics Association. and we learned so many things. The code is 5107, 510726. So what were your key takeaways? So much is happening, much is yet to happen. Thank you very much. With every opportunity comes risk. Startups fail when they are not user-centered. Thank you very much. We are in the health digital age, and Kenya is ready for the takeoff. Several factors affect uptake of digital health, including politics, cost, infrastructure, and others. Collaboration and investment. Data protection is currently key for implementation of health. For implementation, health is going digital. Thank you. We have the component that data is new oil. Yeah, we remember the quote from Cliff Humbly, right? Yes. Struck my mind. Then also the evolution from where we are coming from. So you remember the presentation that was made by Daktari himself, yeah, taking us back to the 1900s, how we've evolved until 2023. Yeah, let's embrace community-led digital technology solutions. We all remember that we were told most of the digital solutions that we have are not user-friendly because they are not made or developed with the user in mind. Somebody sitting somewhere, I remember that there was that comment that somebody sits somewhere in high towers and thinks for the community and then develop something and think that that would work. The future is also bright with an upward trajectory. We are in the phase of translating the digital highway policies. Yeah, we saw the super highway, which was presented by Sylvia. We all remember that beautiful picture, right? Where we had the green, the red, the yellow, and you remember that? Yeah? Yes. And then laws and policies around digital health, already existing interventions. Yeah, so you can see that we had a very intense day yesterday. And so for today, before we begin, I know we are time bound. We have we are eating into the first panel time. So allow me to. You can still send in your feedback. You can still send in your feedback. We'll capture all of them, and I know it will be very useful for the organizers. So for today, before I introduce the first panel, allow me to make the following amendments to our program. So there's a high-level remark which is supposed to be session 7 between 10 a.m. and 10:45. That particular session has been moved to 2:40 p.m. to 3:30. So, and we have moved session 9 to 10. So if you're a panelist in session 9, please be preparing to come on stage immediately after this first session. Are we together up to there? Are we together? Are we together? I'll send all of us for another cup of coffee. Seems too cold, huh? So that is the amendment that I wanted to make. Thank you. Thank you. So allow me to introduce our first panel, and to take us through the discussion, I would like to invite Florence Ongojo from the Strathmore Center for Intellectual Property and Information Technology, who is the moderator. Please take your seat. And Florence will be introducing her panel. She has a very, very good panelist. So I'll give her time to introduce her panel. And as we go into the first panel, I told you today it's going to be a bit Council. So what we are going to do for the questions, please, we are going to use this particular so if you have questions, you have comments, you have anything else, please again log into your menti.com and post them there. So we'll capture all the questions, comments, clarifications, and everything on that platform. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to limit interactions. Is that okay? I know technology at times creates that barrier between people, so we'll make sure that we also get that interactive. Karibu sana Bwana John, my good friend from IBP. Karibu sana Florence, please introduce your panel.
Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here. So allow me to quickly introduce the panelists for today. We will be having a panel that consists of researchers and health tech entrepreneurs, as well as somebody from Kelly in Kenya who is involved in policy. Once again, my name is Florence Ogonjo. I am a researcher at the Center of Intellectual Property and Information Technology at CIPIT. So for this panel session, we will be discussing, or rather we will be canvassing digital health regulations in Kenya as they stand currently. So allow me to welcome Joshua Kitili, who's also a researcher. So Joshua Kitili is a researcher and an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and holds an LLM from the University of Strathclyde in information technology and telecommunications law. His main interests are in the sphere of data privacy and the intersection of data privacy and artificial intelligence, intellectual property, and information technology law in general. Allow me to then welcome Natasha Karanja, who is also a researcher. Natasha Karanja is also a lawyer and holds an LLM in international commercial and economic law. She is a researcher at the Center for Intellectual Property, and her research work focuses on AI policy, trade agreements, intellectual property, and the overarching goal of applying the decolonial theory in her research work. Next, we have our health tech entrepreneur, Walter. So Walter Momani is a health tech entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of DocCare Health. He is passionate about health tech entrepreneurship and is on a mission to make healthcare more accessible and affordable for everyone. Being the founder and CEO of Doc Healthcare, a digital healthcare platform that provides user access to various healthcare services, including booking online consultations with qualified doctors, booking lab tests, and ordering medicine from the comfort of your own homes. He is a strong advocate for diversity and inclusion in the tech industry and passionate about creating an equitable and just world. So lastly, kindly allow me to introduce Martha Ogutu, who is well known to all of you from Kaili in Kenya. Martha Ogutu is also an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and I will allow her to also briefly introduce herself and all her accolades.
Thank you very much, Florence. I don't have an LLM, I'm not a doctor or an entrepreneur, but I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I work for Kelly under the Health and Governance thematic area, and we are here to advocate for health rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So please continue holding the mic because in discussing digital health regulations in Kenya, we'll begin with you. So could you please give us an overview of the current legal framework and regulations that relate to digital health in Kenya right now?
So I'll start with a disclaimer. I know you have experts from the Ministry of Health and people who have been doing this longer than I have been, but I will briefly speak about the landscape with the background of our work as the Transform Health Kenya Coalition. So around July 2020, the Transform Health Kenya Coalition was being formed, and we had discussions around the UHC. So the Ministry of Health came up with a third medium-term plan from 2018 to 2022, and this medium-term plan was trying to see how we can be able to achieve universal health coverage. So there are several gaps that had been identified, and there are several laws that were already in existence. So we had the Health Act, Article 43, which allowed the national government, or obligated the national government, to recognize e-health services as a mode of health service delivery, and also required that the national government comes up with laws and policies around the use of e-health technologies. We also have the Constitution of Kenya, which I should have started with, which is the overriding law that talks about the right to the highest attainable standard of health. That is Article 43, which as Kelin, we work to achieve. We also had the midterm plan requiring that we come up with a law that specifically talks about digital health, or e-health at that point. And that's when the discussions around the development of the e-health bill or e-health act started. And that's what we have come to know as the digital health bill, as at October, I think it was 19th or 18th. So that's what we were considering when we were coming up with our landscape analysis on digital health technologies in Kenya as Transform Health, in collaboration with our coalition members. Then you move forward, there are several laws and policies that were discussed yesterday that the Ministry of Health came up with when it comes to how to ensure that digital health technologies are utilized in Kenya. I may not be able to mention all of them. However, we have spoken about the third medium-term plan. I was talking about the Constitution. I've spoken about the e-health act and the various discussions around the e-health bill. We'll have a session a bit afterwards talking about legislation around e-health, so I won't go into so much of that, Florence. But I would like to move on to what legal issues that arise from the legislative framework when it comes to e-health or digital health. So as we gained more interest in this digital health sphere, we realized that there were several gaps that needed to be addressed. One of them is issues of data protection. We had Wycliffe speak broadly about a comparison between the Data Protection Act of 2019 and the Digital Health Act that is currently being used. Still, there are some overriding issues or legal issues that we have to speak about. The issues of data protection, the issues of data retention, we heard about that severally yesterday. There are issues of interoperability, e-waste management that we need to continue talking about. And we had a review or a public participation session whereby the common public, we've had a lot about digital health technologies as well as laws and policies being created and not being user targeted. We are focusing on the technologies, we are focusing on healthcare service providers, we are focusing on tech people, technology, and we are not focusing on how well these laws and policies are to be understood by the common user, which is you and I and our families and friends. So there are issues of key legal terms and also key technological terms that we don't understand. If I want to familiarize with a certain law or regulation or even a technology, and I don't understand what interoperability means, or there's pseudonymization that I have to think about before I say that word. And several other heavy terms. May not be heavy for you, but it might be heavy for someone else who's not very familiar or someone who's in mashinani. So those are some of the issues. Then how user-friendly is it? Can I go to a medical service provider and ask them just randomly and ask them to explain to me what this means? How will this help me? As the coalition, we have been doing a lot of work with communities. There's youth, women, key populations who have issues around, first of all, stigmatization, discrimination. So how human rights centered are these laws and policies that are being created? We also have the issue of privacy and confidentiality. We have people who are targeted based on them revealing their health status or health information. So how safe, there's the issue of safety and security. How safe are we as we share our health data, even when it comes to a hospital, a local facility, or even using that technology that we are using, all these applications that we are using to seek medical services? What are the issues that we are facing as we use them? I don't want my information to be shared with a third party without my knowledge. We've seen the stringent rules that have come up with the Data Protection Act. We've seen nowadays we can't even take photos. Yesterday we had to, not force, but encourage people to sign a consent so that you can take your photos. And we had actually people who are not comfortable with it, which shows that this is a discussion that has come at the right time. Because if I am not comfortable sharing my information, sharing my image, even sharing my signature in that signing sheet, then that's something that we should be discussing at length. And then you go to other more sensitive things like health status or health information, where we share information about our families because for some reason it's needed. I was talking to someone about I visited a medical facility, I think it was on Monday, and I don't know if you have noticed, the insurance forms have changed. They've really changed. You're now required to fill like a 3-page form, when before it was just 1 page. And most of it, the new information is about data protection, everything to do with security, because no one wants to be liable. We have seen very stringent fines being posed on people. And most recently, we've heard about the entertainment facilities, where people just take photos and you probably don't want your images to be shared because you're not ready for people to know where you were last night. So I think it's a timely conversation. I think we still have a lot to do when it comes to policy. With the digital health bill, there are still many issues on regulations, because it's very timely, it's very informative. However, we need more direction. And if I need direction, I think someone in my village needs even more direction than I do. So we need familiar information, we need practitioners and stakeholders like you and I to familiarize with the laws and policies, especially the Data Protection Act and the Digital Health Act, so that we are able to share this information with people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martha, for those insights, very comprehensive insights on the discussions on data protection and the interlink between health data and how we now view our data holistically. Moving from that into more of a research perspective, and in terms of the fact that digital health is more or less viewed from a perspective of, or is rather consumed from an element of the numerous health applications that we now have. I will move into Joshua and Natasha in looking at the research that they did with respect to the health applications they looked at, and the privacy challenges that came up from that, and especially in terms of how the health apps leveraged AI in that capacity as a new technology. So start with Joshua.
Thank you. So we did a research on e-health platforms. So we discovered that of late there have been an increase in e-health platforms. So our research was based on trying to identify the privacy and AI concerns. So e-health is a good thing because it helps in achieving the universal healthcare. So in order to see if they are robust enough to secure the privacy of individuals, we conducted analysis of existing e-health platforms. So we identified around 15 AI e-health platforms. So for them, we assessed whether they had a website and privacy policy. So around 40% we discovered had website and privacy policy. 33% they had a website but no privacy policy. I think also around 7% they had a website and privacy commitment. And then the remaining percentage, I can't remember the exact figure, they didn't have a website and privacy policy. So what we did, we narrowed down to, in total we had identified 15. So we narrowed down to around five of them. So we analyzed the 5 since they had a website and privacy policy, and we used around 5 parameters to analyze how robust they are in protecting the privacy of individuals. So we used the parameters were on if they have an accessible privacy policy. The next one was on robust data security measures. The other one was on duty to notify. So duty to notify is contained in the Data Protection Act, and it entails issues to do with the rights of data subject, the purpose of collecting the data, the entities that will be, the data that will be shared with the respective entities, and also trying to remember the other one. So even the contacts of a data controller and the data processor, and also the storage duration of the data that has been collected. So of this, after analyzing, we used a privacy score to analyze all these issues, and we realized the data security robust. The one which topped was on compliance with privacy measures, and this was in regard to privacy policy. So around 80% had complied and had a privacy policy. The next one was data security measures. So they had the data security, most of them had the data security measures, which was also around 80%. So the ones which were lagging behind was duty to notify, and also the other one was duty to notify, and what was the other one? Yeah, mention third parties. Yeah. So these are the ones which were lagging behind in terms of compliance. So these are some of the gaps we identified, and also we realized that some of the e-health platforms we identified, some of them they're complying with laws which are from other jurisdictions and not necessarily in Kenya. So this is one of the recommendations we said, that for e-health platforms that are operating in Kenya, they should comply with the laws that are in Kenya, and also the data security measures should be also detailed. And this is an issue which also should be worked on the Data Protection Act, because we find that the GDPR is more comprehensive on this issue, and in order to ensure that a data subject is adequately protected, and regarding the considered as sensitive, it's important that data security measures are very robust, also